Commander of the Deep Steel Battalion, welcome to the 1st Battalion, 94th Field Artillery Regiment Change of Responsibility Ceremony. Today, the responsibility and authority of the 194 Field Artillery Battalion Command Sergeant Major will be passed from Command Sergeant Major Walter D. Overton to Command Sergeant Major Jerry Morales. Among our special and distinguished guests for today's ceremony are Colonel Kehoe, Command Sergeant Major Barbary, Colonel Raymond, and Command Sergeant Major Cohen. The host commander for today's ceremony is Lieutenant Colonel Alan R. Wagner, commander of the 1st Battalion, 94th Field Artillery. The sword bearer is Sergeant First Class Chad Reynolds, the Battalion Operations Sergeant. The color sergeant is Sergeant First Class Jason Ramirez. At this time, Mrs. Margaret Overton, the wife of Command Sergeant Major Overton, outgoing Command Sergeant Major, is being presented a bouquet of red roses by Specialist Nunez, 194 Field Artillery Battalion, Soldier of the Quarter. The roses are in full bloom, which symbolizes our love and respect for her devotion, loyal support, and dedicated service over the past 2.5 years. Single red roses are also being presented to Sidora, Charmaina, Maya, and China, Command Sergeant Major Overton's daughters. Mrs. Lamaridelis Morales, wife of Command Sergeant Major Morales, unfortunately cannot be here with us today as she and their 2 daughters, Ashley and Jamie, are in Radcliffe, Kentucky. We still would like to extend to them a heartfelt welcome to the Deep Steel Battalion. The official party for today's ceremony is composed of the battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Alan R. Wagner, outgoing Command Sergeant Major Walter D. Overton, and the incoming Command Sergeant Major Jerry Morales. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the invocation given by the 194 Field Artillery Battalion Chaplain Matthew Kieberbrand, and remain standing for the playing of the national anthem.
I invite you to pray and hope with me. Heavenly Father, I thank you for Command Sergeant Major Overton and his leadership, dedication, and service to the gunslingers and now the Deep Steel Battalion. I ask that he will find a place big enough to put the many hats that he has worn here in the brigade and grant him success in D.C. And as the responsibility to care for the soldiers and the mission of 194 is given over to Sergeant Major Morales, lend him your wisdom. Give him clarity and justice in deciding, planning, and leading all the Deep Steel for Life soldiers in his charge. Let competence indeed be his watchword, and allow his influence to be felt at every level of America's preeminent HIMARS battalion. May your grace and peace be multiplied on all in attendance today. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. 1940, an effort was made to give the NCO Corps greater prestige by adopting a distinctive sword. The sword was based on a German version of the infantry sword used by British soldiers in the Napoleonic Wars. The sword was carried by sergeants during the American Civil War and worn either on a baldric or with an Enfield bayonet frock. It is a completely functional weapon, not intended for display, but rather for hard and dedicated use. The M1840 has had a long service life, seeing frontline service from the Mexican War until the Spanish-American War. It remained in service during the 20th century and serves as a ceremonial weapon among senior NCOs. The passing of the sword signifies the relinquishing of responsibility and authority from one command sergeant major to the other. Command sergeants major may come and go, but the sword remains razor sharp. The ceremony begins as the senior color sergeant passes the sword to Command Sergeant Major Overton for the last time. Order of Relief for Command Sergeant Major Overton. Having served faithfully and with distinction, you are hereby relieved of responsibility as the Command Sergeant Major for the 194 Field Artillery Battalion. You have executed the duties of your office with dignity, dedication, and devotion to the command. Your leadership to the non-commissioned officers, soldiers, and sound guidance to the command's officers has been of the finest quality. As the Battalion Command Sergeant Major, you have upheld the traditions, customs, and the history of the command to the highest of standards. You have set an example for all to follow. Upon fulfilling your duties as the Battalion Command Sergeant Major with honor, it is with great respect and the utmost gratitude that I now pass on those standards and responsibilities to your successor. Command Sergeant Major Overton passes the sword to Lieutenant Colonel Wagner, thereby relinquishing his responsibility and authority. Lieutenant Colonel Wagner passes the sword to Command Sergeant Major Morales, charging the incoming Command Sergeant Major with the same responsibilities and authority. Charge of orders for Command Sergeant Major Morales. Let it be known from this day forward that the battalion commander has placed special trust and confidence in your patriotism, fidelity, and dedicated leadership abilities. He therefore appoints you to the office of Battalion Command Sergeant Major, 194 Field Artillery Battalion. In so appointing you, he charges you with the leadership and mentorship for all non-commissioned officers in the command, imposing sound guidance to the command's officers, and showing care and compassion for all soldiers and their families. As the top non-commissioned officer of the battalion, you must bear the mantle of perpetuating the customs, traditions, and rich history of the battalion. Having been chosen over all your peers, you are charged with presenting a sterling example for all to emulate. Command Sergeant Major Morales is now passing the sword back to the sword bearer, symbolizing his dedication to the soldiers of the battalion and the continuity of the NCO support channel. The changing of positions of the incoming and outgoing Command Sergeants Major indicate that Command Sergeant Major Morales has officially assumed responsibility of the battalion. Ladies and gentlemen, the commander of the 194 Field Artillery Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Wagner.
Colonel Keel, Colonel Keel, Sergeant Major Barber, Colonel Raymond, Command Sergeant Major Cohen. Good morning. Get the right page first. Margaret, Team Overton, thanks for attending today's ceremony. Today's ceremony is centered on the change of responsibility for Deep Steel Battalion. We need to focus on Command Sergeant Major Big O Overton for a moment and thank him for all he's done as Gunslinger 7, Thunderbolt Rear 7, Deep Steel 7, and hashtag Rocket Man. First off, thank you from all the enlisted soldiers for your leadership, maintaining the discipline and standards. You did this all while keeping your sense of humor and your common sense approach to leadership. Your laugh was infectious across the battalion. Thank you from the endless parade of NCOs from the battalion and from across post who came by to ask you for your advice and mentorship. You always took time to sit down and talk to every NCO or soldier that came by and tell at least one or two stories. Thank you from the lieutenants. Your mentorship during OPDs and lieutenant lunches gave them perspective from someone who's been in their soldiers and their NCO shoes. You happily accepted the role as trainer for the lieutenants, helping shape our young officers into great leaders. Thank you from the BCs and First Sergeants. They came to you to interpret the battalion's instructions to help them execute at the barrier level. Your feedback and mentorship made the First Sergeants that much better. Thank you from the field grade officers. I know they use you frequently as a sounding board to bounce off their ideas off of your many years of experience in the Army. And personally, for me, thank you for being my big toe. It was a hard fit to fit a Major Payne quote in here, so I had to put in a Stripes quote. I knew from the first time I met you in a beer line in St. Barb's in September 2012 that you were a great man. Our daily interactions and discussions helped me become a better leader. For those of you who don't know, so Major O and I are both from the great city of Pittsburgh. We had many talks about the Berg and our beloved Pittsburgh Steelers and Penguins. There's no wonder why we think so much alike. We had many great days and many laughs over the last 2 years. The only bad days we had were playing volleyball and football. Big O, sorry for hurting you, but I had to find a way to win. The Army did me right by placing us together as a command team. It's a true honor to work with such a dedicated professional such as you. Thank you from all of us, especially me, and best of luck as you head to the Pentagon. Sergeant Major Morales, welcome to Team Deep Steel. I know you continue on where Sergeant Major Overton left off and make the battalion better. Best of luck as you accept the sword, for this great duty in the battalion. Deep Steel, Thunderbolt, Bayonet.
The 194 Field Artillery Battalion, Command Sergeant Major Jerry Morales.
Good morning, distinguished guests, Colonel Kehoe, Command Sergeant Major Barbary, Colonel Raymond, Command Sergeant Major Cohen, distinguished guests, soldiers and SEALs and officers, thanks for coming. I want to thank God. This is a great day. It started a little cloudy and stuff like that, but it turned out to be a great day. And Command Sergeant Major Overton, you deserve the day that we got today. So cool. Thanks to God and gave us this great day. Okay, then I want to thank my family. I don't like to read too much. I talk from the heart. Then I want to thank my wife, my wife and my 2 daughters, because I serve away from home. I keep them in place, and I serve away from home. And after 20 years, they allow that to happen. They just don't, they're like, hey, you need to go, or you can continue on to serve our country. So I want to thank them also. It's very important. I want to also thank Deep Steel Battalion and the 17th Field Artillery Brigade for the warm welcome they gave me when I got here. Learning the systems, learning how the brigade operates, learning how the battalion operates. It's only going to help us together as a team become continue to become a great battalion, or continue on being a great battalion. And it's going to help me continue on without skipping a beat. Okay, I'll take a moment to pay a tribute to Command Sergeant Major Overton. He spent 4 or 5 years here just leading troops non-stop, and that's amazing. He had 3 battalions. He had the rear D of the brigade. The guy's amazing. He led thousands of troops. So thank you, Sergeant Major. Thank your family for the support that they gave you, because without the family, we can't do it. They let us do it. So please give them a round of applause. It is important to maintain continuity, but it is just as important to welcome a change. I look forward to serving along my battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Wagner, and Lieutenant Colonel Bukai. Did I pronounce that correct? Cool. To overcome the challenges and maintain the readiness and proficiency of the Deep Steel Battalion. This battalion has great history, and it had great leaders, so I want to be part of that. I will do whatever I can to be part of that. And one thing that I always say, the Deep Steel Battalion will always be ready to fight where we're told, and we're going to win wherever we fight. Bayonet, Thunderbolt, Deep Steel 7 signing on.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and join us in singing the Bayonet March, the Army Song, and the Retiring of the Colors. The words are printed inside your programs.
Your bayonets high, for freedom fight, will never die. Shout the Army and proud of our name. We're the Army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the Army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the Army goes rolling along. And it's high, high, hey, the Army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the Army goes rolling along.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for attending the 194 Field Artillery Change of Responsibility. You may say your farewells to Command Sergeant Major Overton and his family at the front of the battalion. You are all cordially invited to Command Sergeant Major Morales' reception hosted in the 194 Battalion classroom.